Quote, "A scent created for a man who needs no help in reaching his Elysium, his paradise." Unquote, Roja Elysium. Hi there, welcome to the Perfume Experience. My name is Rodney and today we are going to review a popular fragrance from the house of Roja. Today we are going to review Elysium Pour Homme Parfum Cologne, right? And let's get started. Elysium Pour Homme Parfum Cologne by Roja Elysium is an aromatic fougere created in the year 2017 by the great man Roja Elysium himself. Now this is quite a popular fragrance for the notes as usual of like any Roja fragrance. It has got a variety of notes and the blend really comes out to be something, right? So let's understand the notes and let's understand the scent profile, and this is a biggie. So we have 5 houses of different clones that we can get from them, and we're going to find out which is the closest one to the OG. So the fight has been really close in terms of finding out the winner, and so stay tuned to the last to figure out who won or which is the best alternative of Roja Elysium. And of course, like and subscribe, because if you do like and subscribe, that is a very motivating factor for me at a personal level. And so definitely watch the video till the end. And without no further ado, let's go ahead get into the scent profile of the OG and understand the fragrance. So the fragrance opens up with the citrusy notes of bergamot, lemon, lime and grapefruit, and then the herb notes of thyme, artemisia and galbanum. Now along with these notes, when combined, you get a very citrusy opening along with that slight green herbal hints, that aromatic fougere that's coming up, and as it transitions into the 10-15 minutes, you start getting that minty vibe which is coming out of the combination of apple, blackcurrant, juniper berries. Now there are floral notes of rose and jasmine which are not very prominent, but then the cedar woody notes open up, and then you start feeling that note of that freshy minty vibe because of that cedar wood. And as it transitions into the base note, it has got vanilla, it has got ambergris and it's got leather. For me, the leather is not very pronounced, and so is the jasmine and the mint note, okay, or the rose note. Now what I really get in this particular fragrance is a very simple transition of that citrusy aromatic herb note, and then immediately it becomes this fruity, minty, fresh kind of a fragrance because of that apple vibe, and then it totally graduates into that base note of that cedar along with vanilla. So that is something that I really get out of this particular fragrance, and it becomes a very beautiful, loving scent profile that you kind of start lingering. It starts lingering around you, and it becomes a nice profile around you. Now in terms of performance, this particular fragrance, the OG itself, is not a very big performer on skin. So you get about 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Towards the 2.5 hour to 3 hour mark, it starts becoming powdery. But even after 3-4 hours time, when you smell your hand, you kind of get that whiff of the cedar wood. This is the decant that I have of the Roja fragrance. Now let me put in a spray, and immediately, like I said, that citrus opening you get, and after some time you would start feeling that nice vanilla vibe around you. Now in terms of when you can wear, this is definitely a sophisticated fragrance, and you can wear it any time for any occasion, although this would suit very well as a summer fragrance or as an aquatic fragrance. So now let's see how our clones did. So first of all, the clones that we had are from we had Elysium from the house of Yasmin. Okay, so one Yasmin. We had Elysium from the house of Muzna. We have a decant of another loop in the wall of by Centedelic, and then of course I also have Emir Trillium. Thanks to Fragzone for sponsoring this, and of course, as always, for any decant related enquiries, you can definitely contact Fragzone. And I also had Project All's Elysium or Asylum. Okay, now this is the first one I actually got, and if you look at it, I have used it a bit. So this was always my go-to Elysium alt before I got the others. Of course, the others we got definitely do this test. Now in the first test, I had Yasmin, I had Project Alt, and I had Muzna along with the OG. Now Yasmin and Project Alt have got a very close opening to the OG. Now with Project Alt, the alcohol blast is a little evident and it is a little more pronounced, so you get that blast of alcohol. After that, it kind of opens up to that scent profile. Same with Muzna, but the alcohol blast is not an issue here at all. It opens up pretty smoothly. Yasmin is very close to the OG in the first test. It's very smooth, it's very well rounded, and it is very close to the OG in terms of that citrusy combination with the fougere of those aromatics of thyme and galbanum. It opens up very close with that particular note. Right now, in about 5-10 minutes, it starts to settle down, and all of them start moving towards that minty vibe of that Elysium DNA. Now, the only thing here is Muzna's Alt, for some reason, as a sour opening, okay, and that sour citrusy thing continues for a longer duration, and even when the minty vibe comes, you can still feel the sourness of that grapefruit and the citrusy notes. Now that is not the same case with the OG. The OG is very smooth, and you don't have that sourness. In fact, it kind of becomes a little ambery and a little sweeter. Okay, so that is one difference immediately that you see. Now in terms of the performance of all of them, Yasmin performs on the same DNA of the Elysium for about 3 hours plus, and then after the 3-hour mark it starts becoming powdery, whereas Project Alt starts becoming powdery after the 2.5 mark itself. Now Muzna also around 3 hours time it is quite powdery, okay, but the scent profile was not matching to the OG very much because of that sourness, so I kept it aside. Now this was the first test that I did, so I actually did 3 tests all in all. Seriously, yes, 3 tests. So in the second test I eliminated Muzna, okay, and I bought in Scentadelic. Okay, so I had another loop in the wall from the house of Scentadelic, so I bought the scent, so did 2 sprays of each of them, which is Yasmin, Project Alt and Scentadelic. Now Scentadelic is more denser, more well-rounded, more smoother in the opening and very close to the OG itself, and is also loud in terms of its performance. Okay, now the scent profile is very close, and Yasmin and Scentadelic have very close scent profile to the OG when I compare it with Project Alt, probably slightly because of that alcohol blast. Otherwise this is definitely better, which is the Scentadelic one. Now in terms of performance, Scentadelic also goes to about close to 3.5-4 hours time. So 3 hours you have that linear DNA of the Elysium scent profile, and after the 3.5 hour mark it starts to becoming a little powdery. So you get about 4 hours performance on these two, whereas you get about 2.5 hours to 3 hours on Project Alt. Now this is the end of the second test. Now at the end of second test I eliminated out Project Alt, so went with 2 sprays of Yasmin, 2 sprays of Scentadelic, and I got in Emir-Trillium. Okay, now with the Emir-Trillium the opening is okay, it's nice, it is close to the OG, but there is a slight difference in terms of that sourness, not as bitter sourness as the Muzna one, but slightly sour, but otherwise very quickly after 5-10 minutes it starts becoming closer to the OG in terms of scent profile. Now when I compare the 3, Yasmin and Scentadelic and Emir, I still feel Scentadelic has got a much better scent profile at the opening and continues to do well. Now in terms of performance, Emir is, the word is appalling. Okay, within 2 hours time you can't smell anything, there is no loudness, there is no brightness, nothing at all. The performance is poor on this one. Okay, so that was the performance story on these fragrances, and now let's move into the other elements. Now for the ratings. Now in terms of scent profile, Scentadelic and Yasmin are really close in terms how close they are to the OG, and the blend and the richness and the depth that they bring. However, I feel Scentadelic has a slightly more edge on the depthness. However, the linear performance of the Elysium DNA is carried out well by Yasmin for about 3 hours, and so both are really good in terms of scent profile, so both get a 9. Now in terms of performance, Again, Centedelic and Yasmin are really good at that. You get about 3 hours of linear performance here. You get loud and good projection here for about 3 hours, and then it becomes powdery. But on the whole, close to about 4 hours, both of them can perform well. However, because this has got a little bit more of that projection, and the base note that's in Centedelic also adds or blends very well with the Elysium DNA, this gets a 9 and Yasmin gets a 8.5. Now in terms of presentation, Muzna and Yasmin I've given a 7.5. Another loop in the wall gets 8 because of the artwork that Centedelic has, and of course topping the list at 9.5 is definitely Elysium Emir Trillium, because of that dope looking bottle which is almost exactly close to that of the OG. Right, now let's look at the value for money component. Now for value for money, Emir gets a 9.5 because you get 100 ml for about 1700 rupees from Talib Musa, a Facebook seller. Now that is the lowest price that I could find, so at that rate it kind of becomes like 100 ml divided by 1700 gives you about 17 rupees per ml. It makes it very valuable for money in terms of the presentation and all of that. Now the second is Project Alt. I've given it a 9 because I think this you can get for about 750 rupees for 50 ml. Now recently there have been a sale with Project Alt, and they've been trying to liquidate the 50 ml bottles, so I think there have been some that you might have got between the range of 300 to 500. Now if you've been able to get it at that price point, this is a steal deal. Now Yasmin and Muzna, both of them sell this at 900 rupees for 50 ml. Okay, so they've got around about the 8 points. Now Centedelic is 1400 rupees for the 50 ml, and so I've given it a 7.5. okay, now this is the most expensive of all of them at about 28 rupees per ml. Now when you keep all of that in mind, the fight is really close in terms of who is leading the charts. Okay, and now let's look at the overall story. At the overall ratings, it's a very close fight between Yasmin and Centedelic, and I like the way how these fights are getting so close to each other in terms of so many different things. But with a 0.5% lead over Yasmin, Centedelic is my pick for the best alternative or clone of Elysium Perfume Cologne. Now this really is a good alternate because of the nice scent profile, the closeness to the OG, the richness in terms of its profile, and the loudness that it brings in terms of its performance. So definitely in terms of artwork as well, it's a good collector's item. All Centedelics are in terms of their artwork, definitely a good collector's item. But overall, if you look at, it's a very good alternate for Elysium in to the way the OG is, because the OG costs close to about 20,000 rupees for 100 ml at Shopper Stop. So from that point of view, if you're getting it at less than 2,000, which is about a 10% cost, I think it still makes for a good fragrance to go in for. You can also consider Yasmin in case your budget doesn't stretch to that, and if you want something within 1k budget, you can still consider Yasmin, which is also a good alternative. Right, now that is my pick. This is another loop in the wall by Centedelic, the best alternative clone of Elysium in the fight that we've had of 5 fragrances. Definitely we can look at another video with more houses and still see if Centedelic can withstand all of them. Right, now if you like the content that I bring, please do like and subscribe. As I said earlier, it really is motivating, and it also uplifts the spirit, and more people should know about such alternatives that can be got at good price points, and you can also have a good collection of fragrances for yourself. Right, so on that note, my name is Rodney, and thank you for watching the Perfume Experience. Take care. Bye now.